we play a game?
No, we're not talking war games tonight, guys, but we're going to get into the discussion on computers in the Ham Shack next on Live Free and Ham. Hello and welcome to Live Free and Ham. This is our weekly or bi-weekly show. Actually, at this point, it's weekly. We're going to get into it. We were just talking about how screwing this up would be the first thing I would do. So this is our weekly show. Big change there, where we discuss ham radio topics in New Hampshire, New England, and beyond. We are thrilled to have you here, and so whether you're a regular listener, a Patreon member, or you're just tuning in for the first time, thanks again and welcome to the episode. So let's get into the show. I'm your host, Eric, call sign N1JUR, and I'm with my co-hosts.
Hey, it's Paul, N1OG.
And it's General Todd, W1STJ.
Yes, he is. And he's not selling insurance tonight either. All right. Well, before we get into our topic, we have a few things we'd like to catch up on as always. The storefront is always up at livefreeandham.com/shop, and you can head over there and check out all of our merch. We're adding new stuff as we go. Definitely some changes have been going on. So make sure you bookmark that often and check back because you might run into something you really enjoy. I mean, obviously, all of us, again, are sporting our favorite Live Free and Ham caps. And so, if you want to be like us, then head to the store, buy yourself a hat, and you can be like us. We'll even have you come in and take our position too. That's played. Oh, and hey, the ham radio, what is that? The Found Me t-shirt. Yes. Wow, man, we're on the ball here tonight, guys. So, we are drinking the Kool-Aid, as they say. And so we love it. And we hope you want to sample it with us too. So head over there to Live Free and Ham livefreeandham.com/shop and check it all out. All right. Well, so I've told you, and I'm going to tell you again, we love feedback. So there are a bunch of ways now that you can contact us and reach out to the show, either give us a review, ask questions, whatever. Tell us, what your favorite, Lionel Richie song is. I don't really care. And you can do that reaching out via SMS. So you can just leave a link, or I should say there is a link in all of our show notes that you can click on. And Todd would happily read that in our next episode. You can always leave us a voicemail, which, at this point is probably shocker because this is the first you're hearing of it. But now we have a voicemail inbox that you can leave a long, drawn-out message. Well, I think it times out after 3 minutes. But, hey, you can always call back again and leave an extension like I've heard on other podcasts out there. And so now you can share your deepest thoughts, express your devoted love for the show, or even remind us to renew our warranty on all of our HF radios. Either way, we're here to listen. And so that number, if you want to leave us a message on our voicemail, is 978-233-1142. Todd, what was that number again?
978-233-4122.
So don't wait any longer. We have volunteers standing by, waiting to take your message. Simple as that.
What was that number again?
978-233-1142, Paul. What was that?
978-233-1142.
And we actually have some people that have left some messages, so we're going to get into that in a second with Todd's usual segment. But as always, if you are one of the traditional folks of the 80s and you still like to use email as a form of non-emergency communication, you can always send us feedback and questions at livefreeandham@gmail.com. And if you're watching this show on our YouTube, the number is down below, so you can't miss. You don't have to worry about remembering to rewind and go back and look. It's right there. Anyway, and the last part, which we've already stressed before, but we want to stress again because we've been having some real good fun with it, is our Discord server. Did you guys know that we actually had one? I know we have because we've had a few people jump on. We've been talking about a few topics. One that kind of triggers my thought was show us your shacks. We've had a bunch of guys and folks post their shacks, which have been really cool. So thanks again for sharing that stuff with us. And we might make a segment out of that. We're kind of, in the infancy stages, but I kind of got the wheels turning there and might having some fun with that one. But you can, like I said, always head over to livefreeandham.com, and our Discord server link is down in the bottom of the footer. And it's all in our show notes too as well. So if you happen to be listening to us on the pod, you can always click that and come join in the fun and hang out with us and be a part of our Discord community. And as always, as we say every episode, and we've been saying from day one, we have a live stream. So that means every month, in addition to our regular episodes, we're going to host a live stream. It's always a surprise, as sometimes, we don't even know when it is. We all laugh, but it is true. So what that means to you is you have to head over to our YouTube channel at Live Free and Ham and hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell. That way you get notified and you can be part of our live stream and hang out with us and give us crap either way. And so the last piece, and this is a secret, but, hey, you're hearing it first, is that if you want to be one of the cool kids, you can head over to our Patreon page. It's over on livefreeandham.com /Patreon or patreon.com /livefreeandham. And as a subscriber, you get access to all of our shows before they go live. And there's a bunch of sneak peeks that are uncut episodes. So all of our banter back and forth before we hit the record button, you get to hear all of that stuff and that talk. And we've got a bunch of other cool things like early orders on merchandise that we haven't released to the public and much, much more. And so head on over to our Patreon link there and come support the show. Come be part of a cool, real community and get on the in. All right. Whew, that was a lot. I need to take a sip here. But with that, let's get into our usual segments here. And so for the first...
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
Hey everybody, we got some news.
Slow down, Boog. Let me handle this. We've got some news. I've got bad news and bad news.
I have reviewed ship's personnel, Captain.
Congratulations, you've got mail.
All right, well, this is our usual episode where we go through our mailbag, and I throw it over to Todd.
So we got one one email, and it wasn't a very positive one. It said, this is the worst. I think it said, this is the worst podcast ever. Now, I was thinking, who would say that this is the worst podcast ever? So I did a little research, and it doesn't really tell me who it is, but I did see the last 4 digits of the number, and I went through my phone book, and who could it be but the Grouch, who actually doesn't like our own podcast that he is part of. So I wouldn't really say it's just typical of the Grouch and what he's going to tell us. So thank you, Paul and 1OG, for the comment in the email. At first, I was like, wow, we must be successful. We're getting hate mail already. Isn't that when they say on podcasts, if you get hate mail, you've made it? So yep. I was kind of excited at first, but then I was like, nah, this isn't real. And then
just remember, trash isn't always a bad thing.
Yeah.
Or,
and then
you're a huge embarrassing failure.
And then we have our phone number.
Hi, this is Kilo Charlie 1, Quebec Delta Kilo, and we are repairing the phone lines in your area. Please do not answer the phone for the next 10 minutes, or the person on the other end may be subject to electrocution. Thank you. Goodbye.
So that was interesting. So that was kind of funny. And we're going to play the other one. We have one more, which was kind of...
Is frequency in use? Is the frequency in use? CQ, CQ, CQ.
So then I'm thinking it's done, but... Is it done?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. All right. So we got someone leaving us messages calling CQ, which I don't think is going to work on the phone, but thank you. And that would be our trial on our phone. So I think this is going to be good. If you guys want to mess around with us, leave us either serious messages or silly ones. Give us a call, and we'll play the good ones on the air. And that's all I got.
We're eventually gonna have to filter some of that if it gets too crazy, but
we might have like for the Patreon members, we might just have to record like all the messages just play in a loop. But we'll see how it goes. But hopefully this will be something fun we can do, and we can have some funny ones, and we could also have some serious ones that not just another way to communicate with us. So that's Very it cool. With the news this week.
All right. Well, you heard it here, guys. The number is now out in the wild. Hopefully, you just latch onto that, and we just have one statement. Bring it on. That's all we have to say. Just leave it that.
Send it.
Yep. All right. Well, with
doing
that,
good. Doing good.
You do. That's good.
You good? You good?
You're doing good.
Absolutely, I do. Good.
Doing good, Bob. Doing real good.
And right now, my only outlet is my ham radio.
All right. Well, as we have been doing for a while now, this is the Doing Good episode. So we all aspire to do good in ham radio, at least on the Live Free and Ham crew here. So, whether you assisted in a disaster, providing communications for a local road race, or hosting a POTA meetup, we all want to, know about your activities in ham radio. So, I just know I don't have anything because I've checked. And, anything on the WinLink front there, my friend?
Well, I'll be honest. I've been having computer issues, so
we don't know.
Haven't checked my WinLink.
Okay. Well, the good news is we haven't had anybody post on our Discord either. And so I think with that, we're in the clear at this point, and nobody has done good this week. But hey, there's still hope for all of us. And we can all, continue to remind ourselves that, hey, just share the interest, share the fun, share the love of doing good in ham radio. And so we're going to leave it here with you guys. Now you have 3 ways to be able to get a hold of us. And those 3 ways are simply, you can leave a voicemail at 978-233-1142. Todd, what's that number again?
978-233-1142.
It'll almost be like that flooring commercial. We have to put a little jingle together.
Stop doing that because I'm bad with numbers. Just put it in your phone and call us.
I know, exactly. Or, you can head over to livefreeandham.com/do good, all one word. There's a great easy form in there. You can fill it all out and it will send directly to our inboxes and we'll happily read it on there. But then again, if you are a dedicated ham radio operator, because, for this last category, only the dedicated folks would, be willing to do this. Like I mentioned, you can share your story through WinLink. Email Paul, N1OG, at WinLink, and he will get that notice, and we will gladly read it on the air. But more so, we will extend the invitation for you to come hang out on our next live stream there and share your story directly with those folks. So, those are 3 ways you can do part of the Do Good segment here. And so, as we start to continue to get to a weekly episode, so we're going to be filling up your podcast player every week now going forward. So you're going to be hearing more and more about this. So eventually you're going to have to figure out how to, contribute and start being part of this community. Or otherwise, we're just going to drive down to wherever you're listening to our podcast, sit in your car and have you tell us, and we're going to transcribe your story personally. Well, I won't do that, but maybe we can hire, a virtual assistant or something. All right. Well, with that, we leave these 2 wonderful episodes to lead into our favorite, as always.
And now for something a little extra with Todd W1STJ.
Well, as always, we are in our usual segment called A Little Something Extra. And once again, Todd has not provided me an updated photo. So we are going to continue to use his mugshot until he comes forthright with something a little bit better.
Yeah, let me get that on the to-do list.
So with that, you heard it here. This is where we help Todd study for his extra class license. Hopefully before we get into the new year, Todd will be able to take his test because, we're going to be coming up some very intense, stress from other, podcasts and other live streams that are going to be doing extra, by April type things. And we're just going to get drowned by them because we no longer be the strong voice. So, get working there, Todd. So,
hey, I can tell you is 1 through 4, I'm testing at 90%, and I've started 5. And I'm about 50%. So,
okay. Well, then that is good news.
Yeah. So I'm getting there. I'm a slow learner. So, I'm going. Might have it by January 26th, but that'll be all right. No,
that's still way ahead of the rest of the curve there. All right. Well, so if this is your first time hearing this episode, again, this is an episode that we do where each week we pick 3 questions from the extra class question pool to test his knowledge and hoping we get him closer to his upgrade. If you'd like to follow along, you can head over to hamstudy.org, which is a great resource to help you prepare for your test and is recommended by 3 out of 4 volunteer examiners because the ARL was unavailable for comment at the time of the survey. And so without further delay, I hand it over to the VE Quizmaster. Take it away, Paul.
All right. So I'm happy that we are moving on to sub-element number 5. So question number 1, what happens to reactive power in ideal inductors and capacitors? Is it A, it is dissipated in the formation of inductive and capacitive fields? B, energy is stored in magnetic or electric fields, but power is not dissipated? C, it is canceled by Coulomb forces in the capacitor and inductor? Or is it D, it is dissipated as heat in the circuit?
All right. I am going to go with B. Energy is stored in the magnetic or electric fields, but power is not dissipated.
Yep.
All right.
I agree with that one. How many times have you been zapped by a capacitor?
Yes, you are correct.
All right.
Great
that I learned from
job.
electronic class, if anything. How to make great sparks.
So as a brief explanation here, the question states both ideal inductors and capacitors, so think perfect. The current just passes from the inductor's magnetic field to the capacitor's electric field, back and forth, so none of the power is lost or dissipated.
Unless you're the path to ground.
All right. Question number 2. Which of the following represents a pure inductive reactance in polar coordinates? Is it A, a negative 45-degree phase angle? B, a negative 90-degree phase angle? C, a positive 45-degree phase angle? D, a positive 90-degree phase angle?
Okay. I think it's D.
I'm going to have
Eric?
to go with A.
All right. Well, Todd said D, so we'll start there. And D is correct.
He's been studying.
I have. I'm trying.
Great job.
I get confused on those, a positive and negative. I knew it was one of them, but I got that one wrong a lot. So I guess now I understand it.
Now you get it. Phase angles are measured from 0 to 180 for positive, inductive, and 0 to negative 180 for negative, capacitive. So positively phased by a polar bear, your hint.
Okay.
All right. For the third and final question of the evening, what is the result of increasing the Q of an impedance matching circuit? Is it A, harmonics increase? B, losses increase? C, matching bandwidth is decreased? Or D, matching bandwidth is increased?
I'll go with C. Bandwidth is decreased.
I always thought it was increased, but I'm going to go with D. Why not?
All right. C is correct.
Oh, 3 out of 3.
Congratulations.
Wow. Wow. You have been studying, my friend.
Wow.
Impressive.
That's very good. I didn't think I'd get any of them right.
Oh, great job.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Wow. Okay. Well, it is paying off, my friend. Apparently, the hamstudy.org app is pestering you enough that you are studying consistently.
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you something. We had one of the questions from one of the podcasts that we did, and I had gotten it wrong. It came up in the thing, and I knew it because I knew I got it wrong on this. And I'm like, nope, this is the right answer. So even this is actually helping me. So it's all good. 3 out of 3. Awesome. No song tonight.
Nope, no song tonight. Although you should be playing it for me though. Yeah, I got 2 out of 3. So MC, hit the button, please. I deserve it.
the button needs to be remapped because currently it's.
Yes!
I think it's only.
I
I think it's only
away!
playing.
Woo!
Right?
Oh, that's awesome.
You
should
should
can't hear.
You should have to sing it then, Paul.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only playing for me. Sorry.
Oh, well, that's good.
If I wanted to kiss, I would have called your mother.
All right. Well, so with that, so if you're on the journey to studying for your technician general extra class license, then hamstudy.org is an excellent resource for getting your ticket and might help you avoid, hearing that, annoying tune that when you get 2 out of 3. So if you've recently received your license or an upgrade, let us know. Either post it on our Discord, send us an email, SMS text it, call us on, our voice line number now. And, or, if you're so inclined, heck, send us a WinLink message. I'm all for it. We'll give you kudos for that. And so, we want to recognize your extra study. Oh, he found it. Oh, man, I thought I didn't read it fast enough. Dang it. All righty. Well, I didn't I didn't come out unscathed totally. So, guys, well, in our usual short format, let me ask Paul, how has been your ham radio week?
Frustrating. So the mini PC was having issues over the last couple weeks, but I was able to, at least by mashing the F8 key when it was booting, get it to load into the operating system, and I was able to use it. Which, granted, I was using it on kind of limited functionality, but I was able to use it.
Mm-hmm.
I cloned the hard drive, so all my data was secure. But a couple 2-3 days ago, I had to restart it, and so I sat there and I was mashing the F8 key, and it loads, and there's no internet. It says that the Ethernet port doesn't exist, and so I was like, all right, well, let's go Wi-Fi, and we'll just do Wi-Fi, and unfortunately, I had the Weekend Warriors podcast recording that night, so I did that on Wi-Fi, which it worked. It wasn't great, but it worked. And the next day, the computer then would no longer recognize the internal fan, and so it wouldn't even give me any options in BIOS. Like it wouldn't go anything, nothing. It was just
it wants
dead.
to die.
So so I stepped up the game on building the new computer, and thanks to the wife ordering me some Christmas presents early, put the new graphics card and CPU cooler in, and it is built and currently sitting at my feet with a lot of storage and maxed out with everything speed wise and graphics wise.
That's good.
So I guess in the end it's good.
Well, I'm seeing a pattern here. I'm seeing a pattern here with Paul. Like Paul's getting his birthday presents early. Now he's getting his Christmas. I mean, eventually you'll be like, well, I'm getting my 5-year Christmas gift early. Like it's only November. So,
thank God he's already got the HF gear already. So
yeah,
he's way ahead of the curve.
I told her if she wanted to, she could save the boxes and wrap the boxes for me.
With nothing
Put the cat in them.
Like, oh look, a graphics card.
Oh, that's so awesome! I can read the manual. Oh, very cool. Well, we're going to get into a little bit of that, talk in our PC Shack episode tonight. But yeah, cool. So outside of that, I assume not much HF. It's mostly just been computer woes all week.
Yeah, no radio at all, really.
All right. Well, cool. Well, with that, hopefully, Todd, you can pull out something maybe out of a rabbit out of a hat that maybe you did HF at all, or So, how was your ham radio week, or ham radio week?
Well, my ham radio week was HF, non-eventful. Even though I had plans, I was ready to go. Just unfortunately, work has just kind of things have been happening. We had some nice weather, and just didn't able to get out. I was pretty frustrated. Now, it gets dark very quickly, so even later in the afternoon, it's like kind of tough. So Yeah, haven't done much, but I can say that I was elected VP to our club.
Woo.
So
Nice.
that's ham radio related, I guess. And I wasn't there for the meeting, so I'm already off to a bad.
Hell is the world coming to?
Exactly.
I wasn't even
I had
there.
to read your speech there.
Yeah,
So
I did write a little speech explaining why I wasn't there. I was grilling for the PTA for the high school.
I tried to do it in my best Todd voice, but it just didn't help.
And yeah, so I got a whole bunch of texts saying congratulations while I was cooking. I cooked 90 burgers and 50 hot dogs on a grill that actually didn't even work, and it just turned into a grease fire grill, and it caught on fire, which was pretty bad. The grease on the bottom, it was terrible. I'm like, we need a new grill. I can't do this like forever. So they're actually buying a Blackstone.
So here's the question: is what was the ratio of people running to the bathroom after eating to those that have strong stomachs? That is usually the deciding factor as to whether or not you're a good cook.
So listen to me. They've had other people cook, right? I come in there and cook, and they sold like the most burgers ever. And even the guy who's broadcasting the stupid football game was like, "You got to get to the shack. These are the best burgers you ever had." And people were like, "Those are great burgers. Like, what do you do to?" And it's literally just like they're cooking on grease, like the flames or the grease. You know, it's like grease burn, and they're just the cheap old like great value Walmart frozen hamburgers, but people love them. So I was, my wife is like, "We need more burgers." I'm like, "I'm cooking them as fast as I can." So it was pretty good. It's I feel like I got to volunteer. I have a kid going to the high school, and it all goes to a good cause, and my volunteering, my good job of the week. So I don't think I have to go back. I think there's one more. I want to say it's like the 26th, maybe.
Oh yeah, the
it's
Thanksgiving
like
football game.
I don't even know if it's that. I think it's the Division I playoff game. So our field. So Nashua has a field crisis because their field got condemned because kids were getting concussions and they didn't maintain it, and it was AstroTurf, but it lost all the little rubber things in it. So they're going to fix it. It won't be done until the spring. So Nashua High North, Nashua High South, and I think North, South, and BG all are using our field along with our team. So we have donated the use of the field for free, but with the idea that we get to run the food stand for the PTA. So it's kind of like a swap. And I guess schools do that. Like if there's a problem with a school, they it's like you look out for your other school districts. And yeah, they didn't expect food there, and we were cooking out, and we actually make pretty good money. I mean, the most they've made was like 1,600 for a game, and I think we're over 1,000, every Friday night. So it's pretty good.
Very cool.
So that's where I was, and then yeah, I won. So I'm the VP. I have no idea being a VP of a ham radio club is, and Ralph is brand new. He has no idea how to run a club, so it should be a good year.
I'll be good.
Hopefully we'll have a club next year. Maybe I'll be voted out. Maybe I'll be voted out or impeached before the next election.
That one's going to be real difficult in this club. Impeachment is like a last-ditch effort, even after they voted you out.
Yeah.
You can't even call it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, bummer on the ham radio stuff.
Yeah, and I need to get out there. I've been itching to go, and it's just I have the bag. I mean, I've got my bag, everything's ready to go, and it's killing me. It's like I'm having a, what do they call it when you're in drugs?
Your withdrawals.
Withdrawals. I'm having with ham radio withdrawals because I'm afraid. I'm afraid if I go out like during my lunch break, I might just say F it and come back. I mean, like, where are you? Yeah, I'm at a home visit. Yeah, I got stuck at the school. Todd, it's 3:00. School got out at 2:00. Yeah, I'm in an extra long meeting. Anyway,
very cool.
Eric,
well,
how was your ham radio?
You had one job. Anyway,
I tried. I was looking at you, and I was like, "All right, is he gonna get the hint?"
So Eric,
it's not like this is our first episode.
What did you do this week in ham radio?
Well, thank you for asking, Todd. I appreciate it. So, yeah, I apparently I have to hold the fort down here from the ham radio side to classify us as a ham radio show.
2 out of 3 hams don't do ham radio. But
radio on this show
or on a podcast.
What are we turn it into the clubhouse or something? This is ridiculous. So I have to say, you guys, you've been missing out. 10 meters has been phenomenal. Like, I can't tell you, even when we have X flares and all of the typical stuff that usually affects like the bands, 10 meters has been awesome. I've completed my HF mobile in the truck. Everything's all done. It's all pretty much, rock solid, works awesome. So, this is kind of the season where like and you may, experience the same thing where you go out with the wife on a weekend and they're like, oh, did you do a little shopping, blah, blah, blah. And like 9 times out of 10, you always go back to the truck or the car just because you can't stand walking around with them. That's my MO. So, I have now HF. So I basically stand around for a little bit looking like a lost puppy, following my wife around for like 5-10 minutes. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm going to go back to the truck. And I go back to the truck and I play on 10 meters. I hunt POTA. I'm having a blast, dude. My polo log for my truck specifically has got like 50, 60 contacts in it because I just sit there, spin the dial. I can play 40 all the way down to 10, 6.
So if your wife doesn't like to shop and rather be at the house with honey-do list stuff to do, how can I get that in there? You have any ideas?
I don't know. Let's put that out to the membership and the subscriber base. Any suggestions that you could help Todd? How can he get out of his honey-do list? Leave them in the comments below on the video or send them to us. I
might be able to do it while I'm cutting the grass, but it'd be hard to hear and broadcast.
Definitely on sidebed for sure. Yeah. You might have to just do FT8 only on the lawnmower.
Yeah. Why does he have his computer out there like on his hand, and what is he pressing?
Man, I just severed the connection. my cord that I was pulling along the lawn with me behind me is now got mowed over.
Yeah.
So I've been pulling the crew here ahead into playing on 10 meters, but I've got some really cool things. I finally, after some long strategy and analysis paralysis, I'm going to be building a battery box. Todd knows kind of which box I'm going to select, but it's kind of we're going to keep it on the back, on the down low. The Redodo battery just showed up today, and I've got all of the accoutrement of switches and distribution blocks, and I've been studying videos and everything else like that. So I'm trying to build like my ultimate buy once, acquire once battery solar generator box, whatever you want to call it. Everyone just refers to it as battery boxes. But I'll be having a video on that soon. But looking forward to building that and having 100 amp.
And once he builds it and it works, we'll be selling them on Live Free and Ham.
I don't know about that. This was a lot of work if I build it this way.
Eric will only be building battery. Well, look, once you build it the first time, it should be pretty easy to mass produce them, right?
Yeah, but all of the parts I bought were like it's equal to about. Oh, actually, no, it's exceeded the cost of what I paid just alone for the battery. So that gives you any factor.
Well, those parts are those like you don't realize like you see them like for sale, like battery boxes or just the box. You're like, why does it cost so much? But then you price out all those adapters. Those things are 20, 30, 40 bucks a piece.
On-off switches, distribution blocks, the wire, the fuses, and then you get PD chargers and non-PD chargers and power poles. Yeah, it's crazy. So. Yeah, I gotta ping Ryan to go through and print me a couple of basically circle connectors so I can put power poles in. But outside of that I'm looking forward to doing that. And I finally finished the stupid truck video. So I've gotten all the parts together. Everything's all scheduled. I've been talking about this for a long time, but those will be airing on my channel soon. I'm just gonna put together kind of a one video that like I can do in 30 minutes or less. That just does like the overview. And then that way, if anybody else who wants to see the details and the nuts and bolts on each of the subsections, then you're going to have to subscribe to my Patreon. And and check all that stuff out. So it's, it's kind of a, hey, if you want to know more of how I really did the secret sauce, then, go check those videos out. But so that's on the way. And so, yeah, I've been having some fun with that. Now, if I could get actual video out, that would be another story. I did if you can't see in the video here, you can, if I move my video camera down a little bit, you might see that above me is a little frame ham. I framed my Geochron. I created a little video about it. I got to get that edited, but that's going to be one of my first videos I put out probably this week, just because I haven't put a video out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. And so a lot of people are going, where the hell did he go? So yeah, crazy. Anyway, so that was it for me. And, with it, we kind of, been bouncing ideas around. We've got a couple of cool things that are coming up in the future for shows and guests coming on. So we're going to keep those under wraps. And you also probably want to pay attention. We're getting closer. We actually, and I'm going to let the cat out of the bag here, but there'll be a little bit more details coming. We have finally put out for a limited run a whiskey glass that's Live Free and Ham branded. So we've got a small batch that we've ordered, and once they're sold, they're sold. But if you love Live Free and Ham and you are a whiskey drinker, then you got to get your hands on these glasses. So keep an eye on our website, keep an eye out, listen to other podcasts. We're going to have more of an announcement on that. And so there'll be a limited run. And so once they're gone, they're gone. And so if you want to get your hands on that, keep an eye out for that. And we're going to be doing some fun stuff there. I'm looking forward to what Paul's got cooped up in the future. So let's get into what we're
going to be doing
about.
a podcast after we drank a bottle of whiskey.
Whiskey, right? Yeah. Every super chat.
Yeah.
For sure.
Very cool.
Well, those days are coming. Once we hit 1,000, we'll have to keep working on the channel there. But all right. So we have been kind of tossing or alluding to the idea at the beginning of the show, that unless you're like a diehard paper logger, you probably have a PC or something of, sorts in your ham shack, whether it be a laptop, a desktop. And, you might just do logging with it. You actually might do more digital modes with it. You actually might use it quite extensively, or maybe you're sort of like us. Like, we've got a bunch of other ham related stuff that we run, multiple monitors, the whole hardware configuration. And, we download the latest things like Grid Tracker, and, we run WSJTX, and we have our own, local logger that syncs with QRZ and LOTW and blah, 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 and on. But, we kind of wanted to share a little bit about that experience, but we also wanted to talk, and dive into a little bit of, PCs and OSs, and maybe share some of our pitfalls and things you might want to consider when, maybe you're considering improving that, simple logging laptop to something a little bit more for your ham shack there. And so, gentlemen, let me kind of, let's dive in and talk a little bit about, your experiences, but, how important do you guys think, at least initially, the PC is in your shack today than, say, maybe 10 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever?
4 years ago.
Four for you. All right. Yeah.
I'm the new one, guys. I might be old, but I'm definitely the newest member of the ham radio community out of the three of us.
So could you get by doing what you do in your shack today without having a computer of some sort?
Me? No.
Any of you guys? No.
I mean, so here's the thing, right? From the start, I at least had a laptop that I used.
Mm-hmm.
And while, it was an old laptop, it was, one that we had kicking around. And so I was able to just put a fresh install of Windows on it and, just start with the basic things like Chirp for programming, right? Like, the FTM 400 RT system software. Like those were kind of the first ham related software that I used. And then, you start getting into loggers and, that's a whole realm of things, right? You got to try different loggers. You got to figure out what you like, what you don't like, what feels intuitive to you. I settled on N3FJP. I love it. It's great logger. I like
use
the It was more user friendly to me than N1MM. And like I know N1MM is really popular with contesters and stuff, but initially I just wanted something that was easy, and I don't know, N3FJP is where I settled. But I don't know, I think as I progressed through, I went from, yeah, it was nice to have a computer because it made programming the radios easy, it made logging easy, it made uploading my log to QRZ easy. From the start, I probably didn't need a computer.
Okay.
However, I will say as I got into things, like, you need it, and you need a better computer than you think you do initially.
We'll get into it a little bit. So yeah, we'll talk about those pitfalls and stuff. But how about you, Todd? You sound like you have a similar kind of scenario yourself.
Yeah, so I had one of my friends worked for Staples, and he gave me an HP. I guess it was more of like a demo computer, so it didn't have a lot of memory. It was just basically like check it out, see how it works. He just gave it to me, and I used that because I just had a work computer, and I'm an Apple guy, so I had iPhones and iPads, and I used to have a MacBook, and but once the iPad came out, I kind of got away from the computer aspect. So he gave me this computer, and I started getting into the ham radio stuff, the FT8 and the loggers and stuff. And then the computer was old; it just wasn't working right. So, of course, I called my buddy Eric, N1JUR, and I said, "Hey, I need a computer for my shack." And he goes, "Oh, you want to go down to this, and this is what you need, and they'll build you one." So they did, and it was great. And then, oh, we're gonna do podcasting, and we're gonna you're gonna need backgrounds and video cards, and like I said, the last time I looked into a desktop tower computer was probably, I don't know, maybe 2000, 1999, and they were huge and just packed with stuff. And so I get my computer after I build it, and it's this big tower with like one piece in it, and I'm like, this is it? Like, you gotta be shitting me. And I couldn't believe how like everything got like compacted it wasn't. I'm like, why do I need such a big? Oh, you put lights in it and you do this and that. So anyway, that's that was going to start, and then we're like, oh, let's do a podcast, and I start getting filming and doing all this stuff, and then my computer's not working right. I'm like, what's going on? Oh, you need to upgrade this and you need to upgrade that. And then, eventually I'm going to be doing my own YouTube channel eventually, and but I need space. And so at the same time, my son's like, I want a gaming computer. I'm like, great. I'm like, looked up gaming computers. I'm like, holy crap. So I talked to Eric and I said, hey, if I take this computer and buy these parts and then take the parts I'm taking out, will that be good enough for an entry game level computer? And Eric's like, that would work. Yep. And I think he gave me a few pieces here and there. And it was almost like I bought a new computer because everything was upgraded. Hard drives, I got 2 hard drives in it. I had to get a new video card. I don't even know what else I got, but and then I took all the extra pieces and then we built his gaming computer. So he has now his gaming computer, which was basically, I think, my old computer. Pretty much. And I've got the new thing. And now I'm looking into a laptop, and I'm looking at the MacBook, either Air or Pro. And we'll talk about that later and why. But I have a pretty good computer now, and it's worked flawlessly. It's the fastest computer I've ever had. The digital or the video and all that kind of stuff. I used to have a green screen. Now I don't need that because my video card my video card simulates it or whatever. So yeah, it's been good. So you definitely need a computer. Do you need one as, I don't know, as powerful or as big as mine? Probably not, but you do need one that's going to function with the latest software, and especially if you're going to do FT8 and logging. And I use the same logger as Paul does, and I love it. And I bought like I don't know, I think it was like $50 at the time, and I bought like the unlimited upgrades, and anytime there's an event, they have a new log for an event, winter field day, and so it's kind of cool. And yeah, that's what I'm glad I have it. And I also learned that I can put more than one screen. So I've got 2 screens. I think I'd like 4, but I'll take 3. But right now I have 2, so might be getting another screen. Huh?
We can get into some of those hardware specs there a little bit there and talk kind of where you started and where
Yeah.
you expanded to, because I know Paul's in kind of that same boat. He started with like 1 monitor, I think, and was like, nope, I need more than one. So
yeah, I mean, space is important. But I mean, like I said, I think in this day and age, I mean, do you need a computer? Like if you're just like if you're just doing portable stuff, I mean, you can hand log, but I just use my iPad to log, and I use just a logger, and then I just transfer the files to this computer and run and just download it to the log. But the computer makes things a lot easier. And now that I have a Flex, I actually need a computer. Or I have to spend $1,500 for
another
for the Maestro, which could get me a computer anyway. A really good one, by the way.
Well, let's put a pin on that one, and we'll get into a little bit of detail. So it sounds like, obviously, I mean, I can give you we share kind of all the similar stories. I was using a similar older hardware just to get me going. I knew, being in IT, that I can't live without a computer. I can't stand a paper log. I have doctor's handwriting. I can't read my own handwriting. Nevertheless, copy a call sign correctly. Trust me, I've done it on field day, and people are like, "Is that an R or is that a P?" I'm like, sorry, let me just type. I'll make it easy for you. And so, I started down that road, but then I surely got into the same boat that you guys all have done at some level of, hey, you need more horsepower, and the horsepower is, comes in forms of memory and processor and all of the cool little things you hear about people building game machines about. But does my machine, go beyond what it's probably, overkill? Yeah, it is. It is a little. I mean, I don't need a rack mounted case. I mean, that's like to the nth degree that I've gone to. But I was more about like, hey, I want the aesthetic aspect of it. So it's got a lot of extra cool bells and whistles. So a question, I guess, for you guys: did you ever like make the decision? I mean, Todd, you alluded to it a little bit on the Mac side, but when you got going in ham radio, you just Windows was kind of you just went with it because that's what it was there, or what, like, was there any thought process around that? Did you ever think about Linux at all, Paul or Todd?
I didn't, because I didn't know about. I mean, I heard about Linux, but I'm not the reason I like Mac and Apple is because it's like, for people like me, I just like it to work. Like, I think it's cool. I'm not into all the building and all the things. Now with this PC that I have, thanks to my good friend Eric, it's
to meet the guy.
Yeah, I can upgrade it as needed. So it's going to be one of these computers that will be upgraded as needed. If something bigger and better, I need something, I got to get more memory, I got to get a better video, whatever comes down the road, 5-10 years here, I'll be able to upgrade it. I didn't want to just go out to like Best Buy and buy a computer, and then I don't know if those computers can be totally upgraded. But this one was built at a private store, all the parts, the case, everything, so I can pull things in and out of it at will. And that's kind of like why I went with Windows. Now, after the Linux podcast and talking about that, I think I might give it a shot and see what it's like and see it, because open source, I'm starting to learn about open source, and the other hobby that I'm in, it's really fascinated me that I can do a lot more for a lot less money. And I'm not a big fan of Microsoft. I mean, it's just always there, and it's always what it's been used for. But it works, and I haven't had any problems with this PC. It's super fast, and yeah. And it was really the reason I needed to get a better PC was the podcast, to be honest with you. I probably would have been fine with the other one, but with all this video stuff, I needed the upgrade for the cameras and stuff to work flawlessly, I guess.
How about you, Paul?
Yeah, well, so at 43 years of age,
You're only 43.
Of this crew, yes.
Are you seriously only 43?
Yeah, dude. You just come to realization with this one. I'm 50, man. I'm turning 50.
I'm 53.
Freaking part wiseness.
God damn.
Yeah. So I had the unique perspective of being able
how
to
he just
grow
coasts
up
over that real
time.
easy. It was like, no problem.
So like in high school, there was pagers, right? Like pagers were all the rage.
Not when I was in high school.
And then like towards like junior, senior year, cell phones started to become more prevalent. The big bricks and those. But so I was always kind of interested in technology, and while I don't have the mental faculties to really truly understand all of it. Like the first Android phones, I learned how to root them, and the Blackberries, I learned how to root them and modify their operating systems, and and so like with Windows, obviously, once you get into like Windows 2000 and up, like I was doing the same thing with Windows. I was modifying the operating systems and playing around with trying operating systems that other people developed, because obviously that's beyond me. I'm just smart enough to be able to play with the stuff. But so yeah, I'm familiar with Windows. It's that old bloated girlfriend that you just can't get rid of, because I mean, she's just comfortable. Um, I'm currently running a modified version of Windows, but I'm still running Windows. At some point, I'd like to set up another computer on Linux and just kind of dabble and experiment and learn it. But for now, yeah, I'm all Windows.
Okay. All right. So sounds like just a gradual, like that's just the way everything went, and so you just kind of followed suit with it because it's comfortable, like you said.
One of the things is, like, for me, it's like, I don't know how Linux works, but I know how Windows works because I use it for work. So I have a work, laptop that I use, and but I know how Apple works because everything else I use. So then when I got this computer, I already knew how to do it. So like for Linux, it'd be the third operating system I'd have to learn.
Right.
And it's not like it's hard, but there are differences, and I don't know. But I'm not opposed to doing it, and I wouldn't mind it someday messing around with it, like you said. Maybe get an old laptop or something and just screw around with it and see if I like it, and maybe convert. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely well worth a conversation on a future episode to talk about kind of some of those experiences for sure. My background, obviously, I my job, I dabble in a lot of the OSs, all of them you guys mentioned. So I had flavors and knew which ones to go with and which ones would give me the best bang for the buck. But like you said, Windows is kind of the comfortable girlfriend, so it's a matter of just like, I'm going to go there. And most of the software that I wanted to use, like we all mentioned, N3FJP and WSJTX, either were ported there or built on it. And so, I really just kind of was like, okay, I'm going to make the leap. Now, I was, my whole entire house, everybody in the house was all Mac based. I had Mac laptops, the wife had Mac laptops, just because I was in IT. And so I supported Windows all day. I didn't want to have to come home and support Windows all day. So I just basically said, nope, everyone's getting Macs, the kids included. They were already in the education system, so they were already like using them anyway. So, they all got Macs for Christmas and for school when they went away to college, and on and on. But my ham shack is primarily all Windows based, and I knew in the Windows world you had to throw hardware at your problem to solve Windows bloated, slow, garbage, driver issue, Windows patching nightmare. I knew how to handle it really well because I, like I said, I did it for a job, so I could control a lot of those, annoying things that bother a lot of people about it. But I, at the same time, was like, I'm just going to go Windows because I know whatever programs we get into, whether, at that point, I was in another podcast and we were using other platforms. So I had to, basically say, yeah, we're just going to stick to Windows. So it was just a kind of like a no brainer. Let's just go that route. And, I hate it as well, as I'm sure everybody does. But at the same time, like, I know I can sit down on my Windows machine and solve most of the problems because Windows is predictable. When after you rebooted, oh crap, your Windows sound drivers are going to get all screwed up. So you have to go back in and tweak all those. So I just have a lot of cheat sheets that I carry, I keep with me on my desktop that when, I reboot stuff and whatever, I can go back and reset my settings and everything's back to where it should be. But, so I think for that, that piece, Windows is, where majority of people are going to work with, and especially if you get into applications like loggers and stuff, they're built on that. So it's a good transition. Now Mac has gotten some good space in that, or good growth in that space, and I can't talk to that much now. But I know, Todd, once you finally get into that space, you'll probably have more to share. And there's a bunch of other people that we're surrounded with in our club that have gone and made the leap.
It's pretty funny that this is the topic tonight, because I ran the net tonight, and Bill W1WRA just talked about how he just got the Mac Mini, which is, he had an old one, which is it's actually a pretty good deal. It's like $500, and you just hook it up to a screen, and it's like your mini computer. And I didn't realize he was a Mac guy, and I said, "Oh, that's pretty funny you're doing that, because I'm gonna pick your brain, because I got questions with regards to the ham radio software and stuff." And then while I was at the field today, I was talking to the guys about, hey, if I get a Mac, can I use all these softwares? Are they Mac compatible? Because in the old days, like when I originally had before I had my iPad, everything you had to use like this boot camp thing and basically run Windows on your Mac to get 99% of the software. Well, what I'm learning is most of the software that I need right now will run on the Mac. There's 2 versions, and even like the video game that Zach and I used to practice flying the racing drones, is you can download it as a PC version, a Linux version, or a Mac version. So that's kind of cool. Not in iOS yet, but you can do the Mac version. So I'm kind of that's kind of encouraged me, because my favorite computer ever was my old MacBook Pro from 2010. I love that thing, and the only reason I didn't keep buying Macs is I started getting into the iPad thing. But you can only do so much with an iPad, especially when you're connecting other things to it. You can't connect quadcopters and PCs and hard drives and cameras and everything else to an iPad, but you can to a computer. So that's where I'm looking. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I'm definitely going to do some research and see if that's right. And then if it is, I can tell you how I like it.
Well, for all our Apple fanboys,
sure, you can go with Android if you like unintuitive, frustrating, illogical user interfaces. That's fine.
Bring the hate mail. Anyway.
Hey, and I took my daughter to a college tour. My buddy from college is a associate dean at Suffolk University, so we went down there Thursday and did a tour. We were in like libraries, a law library, all these different places, and so it was kind of cool. And I kind of looked around to see like what were the kids using for computers, and most of them were Macs. There were a couple PCs, but I'd say at least 75% of them were Macs. And
Apple has always had a deep penetration in the education segment. So, yeah, they'll forever be there.
Cult-like following.
Yeah,
that it is. That's why they call it the cult of Mac.
Now listen to this. I mean, just in the colleges, there's no books in the libraries anymore. It's freaking crazy. Like there was like 2 rows of books in the law library. I'm like, where are all the books? Like you got this huge library and there's 2 rows. They don't have books. Everything is like online. Like seriously, there's no books. And they're even talking about eliminating the books in the library so they can have more space. They've got computer stations. They've got this. They've got that. They've got lounges. But I'm like, this is the library. Like when I was in school, like the library was like, there were like floors and floors of books.
Yeah, well,
now it's like it's completely different. And the few books, I'm like, oh, they're still using that Dewey Decimal System.
Here's a sidebar. I was at the club meeting on Friday, just real quick story. And Mike EAA was standing next to me, and he looked at the poster on the wall, and the poster on the wall was like some kid looking at comic books, and the way it read was like, oh, you can look at all the episodes, blah blah blah, And I'm like Mike's like, wow, you can get comic books now at the library, and he's like, well, you don't even have to get the library anymore. And then I kind of went over my head because I wasn't even thinking at the time because I wasn't paying attention. But the poster basically was in the library and said on it, you no longer have to check out comic books at the library. You can just go up on their mobile app and download them off the mobile app. So you don't even need to like have the library. So it's like literally it was like the last nail of the coffin in the library. They were posting up posters.
It's honestly like what's happening is like everything. And they have like these, like in the library in the back corner, it almost looked like like those like movies where you see like the rich guy in his like home office with the dark wood and the chairs and the dim little. That's what it looked like. I'm like, and these 6 people in there just like sitting there reading their laptops or their phones or whatever they're doing, and my buddy's like, yeah, he goes, we're honestly getting rid of books and we're getting rid of all these because we need more space. And he goes, books are just like crazy.
All right, well, so let's get back to the PC conversation a little bit. So let's talk. All right, so we all kind of got through that iteration where we realized that the PC that we had was just either too slow, didn't meet the needs that we had. Our needs kind of had changed a little bit. So we'll start with you, Paul, since it's a little really fresh with you at this point. So talk to us, kind of just briefly share what your the old state was and why you were going that way, and what what was your initial plans. And I know you've alluded to in a couple episodes in the past, so you can kind of just brush over those real quick about what you were working on. But yeah, tell us a little bit about that kind of like iteration, because I know Todd alluded to kind of his transition. But what's yours been looking like since it's pretty fresh?
Well, so everything is always on a budget, right? Like I'm on a fixed income, so like the wife's extra money is the only extra money that we get. So spending extra money on new computers and that kind of stuff, like it just typically isn't in the budget. So I went from the really old laptop that I was using to a slightly newer laptop. I increased the memory to the max that the laptop could hold, and that did me well for quite a while. And then literally 2 years ago to the month, I bought the HP Elite Desk Mini, G3 computer. It was refurbished, but it was new, and it had a faster processor. It had more ability for higher RAM, and a 230 some odd gig hard drive. So it was a lot more space. Um, that computer did me great for the 2 years that I abused the hell out of it. And I mean,
That was a rented mule, man.
so like, I mean, I'm running like Win for ICOM to split my ports for my computer so that I could have N3FJP also getting frequency ratings, and the SDR console up on the third screen, and like running all kinds of things, FT8 and grid tracker, and then you throw in the video editing and all of that. Like, I mean, I was just maxing this computer out. It got to the point where it had no storage left, and trying to render a video file was painfully slow. The file would finally render, and then I'd go to like rewatch it just to make sure everything was good. It would be lagging and skipping and jumping all over the place, and I'd think like my video was wrong. And so I'd go in and I'd fix it in the editor and I'd re-render it. And no, it was just the computer. It was just the computer. So long story short, forced to upgrade because the computer finally died. But thanks to the donated parts that you gave me, plus a few new parts, the new computer is built, and it will do everything I want it to do. I had initially planned to keep the old G3 as a radio only computer, and then have that running just radio software and remote into it for any time I wanted to use the radio, which would have been fine, and it would have taken a little bit of the load off of the new computer. But honestly, I'm just glad to have the new computer built. I learned a lot along the way. And I don't know if you want to get into operating systems now, or if you want to wait on that, but
we can talk a little bit about it. Yeah, let's talk hardware first.
Yeah, all right. Well, hardware. So I had to look up the motherboard and see what the motherboard like maxed out at. So I upgraded the CPU chip to an i7 3.5 gig.
Oh wow, you went that level. Okay, cool.
It was the best the motherboard could take. Then I got 4 sticks of 8 gig RAM. 32 is where it's supposed to stop. I'm only getting 24 reading, so I'm not sure
Windows
what's going
takes up a space of that. Yep.
Yeah, but but so that's the RAM's maxed. I knew that given the location of the tower where I was going to put it, I was going to need some good cooling. So I did invest in the upgraded cooler. So it's liquid cooled with 2 fans. And then I put another fan on the side of the case as well. And then, yeah, the graphics card, RTX 3060 was what the motherboard said was good, and NVIDIA said was good, and everybody said it was good. So now I've got the ability to add a 4th monitor to the mix, which let me tell you, right? When you start at 1 and you're like, oh, everything is good. And then you add an external monitor to your laptop. And you're like, oh, this is kind of nice, actually, because now I've got the laptop and another screen.
And the biggest screen, right?
And then you add a 3rd to the mix, and you're like, oh, now I'm really productive. But yeah, no, I'd love to add a 4th to the mix now so that I could have another display.
A good point. Yeah, if you are in the even in the ham, if we just focus solely on the ham space and put the whole streaming YouTuber stuff to the side, because a lot of our machines I think are very geared to helping us support our channels and do this stuff we do here, but a lot of it also is very helpful in running your ham radio PC as well. I think having 3 monitors almost today is like the minimum. Like I think you need to have, because how many of us run WSJTX in full screen? How many of us run a logger in the other one? And then if you're not running just WSJTX, you have Grid Tracker run it, and you want Grid Tracker's freaking feature, and every bubble and all pop up is in the global map because it's really cool. And now, like if you're like Todd and I, we're Flex users, so we've got now a Flex, software app that's running for the actual connectivity of the Flex. So, all of that starts to really just add up, and like you're like, 32-inch, or even if you're lucky, 37-inch, if you can get one of those on your desk, and starts to shrink fast.
I think what I need is I need one of those like Ryan has, those big curved ones, and I could have ones. 2 vertical ones on the side, so you'd have all that space in the middle. You could plot them in the 2. Yeah, so I could use like 3 with a huge one in the middle.
Well, if money was no object, right? You take what Ryan's got. I think Ryan's like 48 or so inches
49
across.
50-inch
Yeah,
curved screen. Yep,
curved screen. So you put another one above it, and you mount them together, right? So that it's just one big, huge curved screen.
Well, if you're in the money is no object approach, then why don't you just get those modular cubes that like literally you can like building blocks build monitors, so you could build this whole video wall that would be 4K in size, and you could build it and tailor it however you want. You don't even have to worry about a curved screen. You could make it your whole entire wall. You could make it a 200-inch screen if you wanted. imagine trying to see like the contact of the font would be like 90 points or whatever.
I don't know if you guys have been to Gillette Stadium recently, but they've got
play on the big screen,
freaking biggest monitor, HD, 4K, whatever it is, and it is freaking huge.
Oh yeah,
and it is as clear. I think it's the largest one. I want to say it's one of the largest ones. It is enormous, and it is. I'm like, you could like all of us could be on that. Like we could probably have like 500 people on it and have still space to.
Oh yeah, it's all sectioned off. It can be one giant monitor or several, individual monitors.
It was pretty impressive, because it was when I went last year with Zach to the game. We were at the opposite end, the opposite field goal, and it was on the other field goal, and like you could see it better than the screen that was like right next to us. I mean, it was crazy. I was like, if anything, I'm impressed with that screen. Like that thing must have cost like $10 million or something.
Yeah, probably close. It was expensive for sure.
Yeah.
So okay. So monitors are if you can get and just to kind of give people tips along the way, because I think we'll sprinkle in a few here if you can't pull them out yourself. But monitors are obviously a plus. So if you can find someone who's got minimum 17-inch, I would say minimum 17-inch, 20-inch is probably the minimum you want to go in terms of screen size. But if you can get a couple of them and then have a video card drive them, you're going to be that much happier because like the guys have said, I've got a vertical one that's in a vertical portrait horizontal orientation. I've got a curved one that's 38, I think it's 38 or 40 inches across, and then I've got a 51 inch above my head that I have to look up at, but I stick things up there like, kind of my info dashboard. So, it helps to kind of just, when I'm walking by, I can see in the big screen.
So your shack basically looks like NASA, right? Like you're
a little bit,
you're,
yeah.
You're in Houston. You're Houston, Houston control, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to see what our shacks look like, go over to our Discord and go show your shack. I've got photos there, a couple of videos. I know Paul posted his. He's got to update his, but yeah, we got to get.
I'll try to post mine. I got to clean it up though. Yeah, looks pretty messy right now.
Okay, so monitors are a big thing, and roughly if you can get a good video card to drive them, it doesn't have to be super expensive. I mean, the 3060s, the NVIDIAs that Paul references, Todd's got one. Todd, you got actually a better video card than we do, but Paul and I have got 3060s. Great cards because in essence they offload a lot of your video issues off the computer, which is what Paul suffered with for a long time because the integrated graphics card was just dying while it was trying to do all the simple basic tasks that he was throwing at it. And so that's a big plus. But I think you touched upon two real big things, and we didn't talk so much about it, but I know, Todd, when you were building your computer, you were thinking like, okay, I want to do the buy once, cry once approach, but I don't want to I'm not looking for like the ultimate PC per se. You were kind of like, hey, I want to get the middle of the road of all of like the specific areas in terms of cards. But you also struggled a little bit because you were looking for a video card right during the video card shortage of COVID. Mm-hmm. So hardware was like almost impossible to come across, and they were charging exorbitant fees for video cards for during COVID. And I think you paid a lot more than you wanted to when you bought your card. Do you remember what yours was?
No, and I know I paid more than I wanted to, but I don't regret it because I haven't had any problems with this PC. Yeah. Like I said, I was saying earlier in the pre-record that I turned on the computer today and I use a wireless keyboard and mouse, like probably 99% of the people do, and I had nothing. So I have a keyboard that I could plug in, and I don't even think I have a mouse, but at least I could get something. And I'm like, why is this? I turned my PC on. Well, my kid took my Bluetooth little dongle that because he wanted on his thing. And I'm like, dude, you can't be taking stuff because I asked him, I said, hey, Zach, do you have a mouse or a plug-in keyboard I could borrow real quick? And he goes, oh, is the Bluetooth not working? I know why. And he comes up with this, he goes, look what I got. He goes, I borrowed it from you. So but it's and I think it's like there's a bunch of factors I think when building your shack and getting computers and like what are you gonna, I mean, obviously you're on a budget and you have to do what you can do on your budget, and then you also have to think of like how much, like Ryan is a buy one cry once kind of guy, and he goes all out, and I'm kind of like that because what I've learned is I buy the lower end stuff thinking like, oh, this will be fine, and then I end up buying another one, and then at the end I'm spending more money than if I just bought the right thing at the right time. But there's other times when I don't have the money and I can't just go out and buy what I really want, so you got to budget it and just do what works for you, and then talk to people like Eric who he knows more about it than me, and he gave me this great little computer store in Hudson, New Hampshire, Showtime, and they're great. And basically, they build you whatever you want. You want a gaming computer, you want a little, and it's nice because they'll even help you there. If you don't have a guy like Eric, you can go in there and talk to them, and it's not like Best Buy where you got some kid telling you, and they're just trying to push out as much product as they can. These guys will take the time, and I did have one problem with it, and I brought it in, and they took it apart and fixed it, no problem, and it was good.
So, Paul, you're obviously I won't call you an anomaly, but you're like the anomaly of like a lot of people will just like refer to an IT or a nerd to get there. You really took the bull by the horns, which I'm impressed at the same time, and I'm super excited because it from an IT perspective, I usually give people a lot of like, hey, see if you can make lemons out of lemonade out of lemons type thing, and you did pretty much exactly what I was going to kind of get allude to is that you did the little research. YouTube was probably your friend in the internet.
Oh, YouTube and forums. Yeah. I spent a lot of time reading through forums and, but so I've always been of the mindset because I've never had that ability to be like, oh yeah, all right, well, I'll just buy the one thing that's really expensive and it'll be fine.
Sure.
It's always been a patchwork kind of, make things work. Um, and so I'm not afraid to learn something new. And listen, if a dumb freaking Marine infantryman, Army infantryman, can figure this shit out, right? You can do it too, right? It's a trash can, not a can't. Like you can do it. Okay.
You heard it here, guys.
He's also a comedian.
I all in, right? So I took the 3 towers that you gave me. The 2 of them had identical motherboards that were a little bit nicer of a motherboard than the third. One of the motherboards ended up not working.
Right.
So I, pulled the whole thing apart, put the other motherboard in, put everything back together. Of the 3 power supplies, I picked the one with the highest wattage because I knew I was going to need more power. And yeah, I learned a lot about, building a computer, and it's really, it's not all that difficult as long as you can understand, like, okay, this needs power and this is how it gets it. And this needs this and this is how it gets it. And you just make the connections and you install the pieces. Installing the operating system was a bit of a challenge, but it was a bit of a challenge for me because I was using a custom operating system.
Yep.
Had I taken, the Windows 11, installation media and stuck it in and just gone with Windows 11 as it is from the factory, I would have had no problems. Everything would have been good. I wanted to run a custom system because I didn't want all the extra shit that's in Windows. I wanted a Windows system with the bare minimum.
Right.
And
And you
so
wanted to
that's
come
what,
up with the hardware the best you could. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So there's a guy online. He's got a YouTube channel. Good luck figuring his stuff out. It's Ghost Spectre. But he creates these operating systems based on Windows. And it's geared for gaming and streaming and, heavy graphic stuff. So I knew I wanted something like that. And so, yeah, I had to install, the operating system a few times. I had to learn the difference between MBR and GPT, and how if you're MBR, because that's what your BIOS is looking for as a legacy boot, then you can't have more than a 2 terabit hard drive because it won't allow it.
Yep.
And so having thrown a 10 terabyte hard drive in there, I was like, well, wait a minute, where's the rest of the
As Paul says, I'm sending this hard drive. I'm never taking it out again. 10 terabyte.
Yeah,
You threw
exactly.
a 10 terabyte hard drive in?
Yes, I did.
Yes, what could you possibly need 10 terabytes?
Dude, when you get into video editing, I'll answer that one very clearly. Yeah, you will run out of disk space fast.
Really?
Yep.
So, all right,
dude,
just
all your video cameras record in 4K or 1080, and that's huge files. So, yeah, those add up.
Yeah. So just for example, so support your parks weekend. I'm finally doing my video, right? And I want to say it's like 30 gigs of raw video footage. And even when I'm done, the final video is going to still end up being, probably just under 5.
Yep.
And that's because I'm doing it at a lower quality to keep the size down, because who doesn't like anything over 5 gigs? And I found this out this morning. Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout refuses to accept a file larger than 5 gigs.
Well, don't do stereo. Do mono.
Why don't they want Just because of their space?
Because it's podcasts. So podcasts have a limitation of the length of file, and the way you reduce it is to just record and to export it in mono at 46K or whatever it is, and your file will be perfectly fine, no matter how long it is.
So when you guys, since I haven't started doing YouTube stuff, when you guys make your final video and you've posted it or whatever you do with it,
render it, yep.
What do you do with all that extra video? Do you delete it or do you leave it on your? So like
I'll let you answer that, Paul.
All right, so you've got your, support your parks video, and it's all done now, and you've got all this raw footage, right? So you've got the final cut, but you got all this raw footage. What are you doing with all that raw extra video?
That footage I'll just delete.
Okay.
Well,
Eric says no.
That's
well,
where.
Explain why. Explain why.
Right. So if there are videos where I don't use all the footage, but some of the footage is really good, or I'll only use like half the footage, the rest of the footage is good, and I could down the road make a compilation video or make some other type of fucking thing. Like I want to keep those files. And once you start so I'm 10 episodes in on Weekend Warriors, okay? And I've got well over a terabyte of raw video footage. And it's just it's there. And I need it because there are things that I'm going to go back on.
Is it cheap? Is it cheaper to buy cloud space and just shove it up to some server, or even an external hard drive that has 10 terabytes? I mean, because I'm thinking like get it off your computer and then have access to it by plugging it in when you need it. Or does it matter? Because like I know, like Eric and I on my computer, I've got I don't even know what I have, 250
500 gig, and then you got a terabyte after.
Yeah, 500 and then a terabyte is for my video and stuff, which it sounds like isn't going to be enough, according to you guys.
Well, so go ahead, finish your thought.
All right. So what I did was, as somebody in Flag and Torch told me about network access storage, right? Is that what it is? NAS?
Attached, NAS.
Attached.
Network attached storage, yep.
Yeah, okay. And so with Eric donating 3 mini PCs to me, I took one of them and I turned that into pure network storage. And so I've got 5 external hard drives all pooled together, attached to it. And it's got 5 gigs of extra storage, and I can access it from any computer on my network.
Yep.
So you basically have a tower. Now, do you have an operating system on tower, or is it just hard drives?
No, it's running Windows.
So you have to run Windows, and then all the other hard drives.
You don't have to run Windows. You can do Windows.
You don't have to.
There's free solutions out there called Free NAS and a few others that are True NAS that'll do like network attached storage.
Because I was thinking it's probably cheaper to buy like PC storage than is even external hard drives, right? Because that's more portable. But if you're going to do that, is it cheaper to buy storage on a PC where you, like you said, you have multiple hard drives? Is it cheaper that way than it is to just buy, a portable drive?
Well, I have 2 flavors on that, but what are your thoughts on it, Paul?
Yeah, well, so I mean, the reason why I have so many hard drives is every laptop that I ever scrap, I save the hard drive out of it, and then I buy a case to put it in.
Right.
So, like using the Windows storage pool, you're able to just take all those hard drives and make it into one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
So yes, so depending on what your need is, and here this is my IT hat on, so I'll take the free hand. I'll put my IT hat on. If you've got cheap hard drive lying around, I would say just go out and buy cheap external cases, put them in there, make them USB enabled, and now you've got, you can put those attached to your computer to offload files for whatever, photos, videos, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're into YouTube, and perfect. After a while, you're going to get to a certain point that it's going to become a pain for you to keep swapping hard drives because you're going to run out of USB ports, even though Paul, who's got 26 of them, and I'm just, I think, right around that same amount too as well, that your computer can only handle so many more storage devices at one time before it starts freaking out and having problems. So you will eventually hit a limit. I don't know what the we'll say theoretical limit is ridiculously high. I know like Linus Tech Tips did one video where they said, we're just going to plug a whole USB series of drives in, as many as we can possibly keep going, and they eventually ran into some limitations with it. I don't know what it was, but it was ridiculous in terms of the number. So that is one way to do it. I do that here on my own PC. So like I'll have a couple of internal drives, and I've maxed out the number of total slots and availability that I can use for onboard hard drives. So now I have to go to USB, and so I have a couple of like Paul's, similar scenarios. I'll stick them in a case and I'll slung them off the back of the computer, and I offload my video to that. Now, to answer the question around the video stuff, I follow the old backup routines in the IT world of the grandfather, father, son rotation. So any of my current stuff falls under the son rotation. So any of the stuff that I keep for less than 6 months stays on the local hard drives. Anything older than 6 months, I offload to an external hard drive, which has like a 4 terabyte or 6 terabyte. I can't remember exactly what max capacity is. And if I don't touch anything after that, after another 6 more months, I offload it off to my NAS server. And then in the year, after the year's up, I'll go in and look at all that video files footage. And it's like, if the time and date stamp shows more than 8 months on it, it's gone. It's not needed. I'm never going to go back to it. I haven't needed it. I was just holding around for a rainy day for whatever reason. So I get rid of that old archive space just because for me it makes sense.
So what's the NAS thing that you just said? Is that part of your heart? Is that part of like something in your shack, or is that like an external service?
Now, Paul has a computer attached with disks on the back of it, and he's using that as a network attached service. So it's like a computer on his network that is solely just serving out access to a bunch of drives that act as one large drive. So it's sort of like the cloud services, but he's running his little cloud locally on his network. It's never going to leave it. The true NAS setup, I have a NAS server in my rack that have a hardware configuration and a backplane and an embedded operating system and all that other stuff. And it allows me to do like flavors of slicing up the disks and mirroring and putting redundancy in and a whole bunch of all of this extra stuff, which is really just kind of in the enterprise world that we do to keep data around and keep it, updated. So if any one of those drives fail, they are easily pulled out and new ones popped in, and it just re-images the missing data that was on the corrupted drive to that new drive. So there's a lot of redundancies in that stuff, but that's like overkill for like a home user. Although if you're a true geek, that's you're running full servers in a rack. I am not that level. I gave that up 10 years ago because my power bill exceeded my,
So what's the difference between the cloud and a server? Like I thought the cloud was like just a bunch of like the Google
someone else's infrastructure.
It has
someone else's infrastructure.
Has like a buried freaking football field just of storage.
They're running the services and the hardware and the configuration all in the background for you, and you're paying them for them to house your data offsite. Right. That's all they really
so like the Apple cloud that everything gets on, and
in Apple's data centers, it's all sitting up there. All your photos, videos, all that stuff is synced to there.
And if you wanted to, you could build your own kind of cloud server at your house if you had the space. And
you can put it on your local network, and you would basically just map it like another drive in your Windows file manager shows another drive attached network storage, sort of like how cloud stuff shows for Dropbox and that type of stuff. So it is one way to offload some of your data and photos and stuff. So you will, and this is kind of one of the things I'll stress to everybody who has a computer in the shack, like Paul has already said several times, you're going to go through those chapters of your life that eventually you add a little bit more and add a little bit more, and that machine you thought had the power is not going to hack it, and you're just going to have to go through the iteration. Todd did it with his laptop, and him and I walked through it. Paul did it totally on his own, and it just was like, hey, screw this, I'm going to build the best machine I possibly can with what I had, and and we in the world call it Frankensteining, PCs together.
Well, like I look at like my phone, I have so many pictures on it. Like it's like, I don't know, probably close to 10 years worth of pictures. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
but
like,
those are compressed and they're actually thumbnails. Those aren't real full photos.
what do you mean?
So
The actual photos are in the cloud.
Yeah, we talk Apple's ecosystem. All of the original photos you have are up in the cloud. So when you tap on them in a phone to actually look at them full view, it pulls down a copy of the original off the cloud. But the one you have on your phone is a thumbnail, which is a smaller size. So it's sort of like a shortcut.
Right. So what I couldn't take all those if I deleted all those pictures off I could copy if I could copy them onto a hard drive. But what I'm saying is if I was trying to get like let's say I didn't want to buy say I'm maxed out with all my pictures, right? And I have no more space and the next phone I got to pay more money to get more room. I could take all those pictures, I could then pull them from the cloud and save them to a hard drive and then delete them. And then I would have the more space on my phone and on the cloud.
But 9 times out of 10, people are lazy and they'll just spend the more money to buy the space so they don't have to search through their libraries.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, and then what happens? Can you leave stuff in a cloud and not have it on your device?
Yeah. I mean, when you Dropbox, that's all in the cloud.
Yeah, but what about like the Apple Cloud?
Well, Apple Cloud, yes. I mean, if you're on a Mac, the stuff that's on your Mac will sync up with that.
But if I delete them off how do I get them off the Mac? Like let's say I have 20,000 thumbnails and it's taken up 50 gigs. All right, let's just whatever. Let's say I've got 50 gigs worth of thumbnails and I want to get rid of them, but I don't want to lose all the pictures. I want them still in the cloud. Can you delete them off your
No, because it synchronizes what those like. So if you do a mass deletion, like here's an example. My wife used to work as a daycare center. She had to take pictures from her phone of all the babies during the day to send off to the parents. So her phone has 4.5 years of babies who don't even know me, and I don't know them. And I keep telling her, to wipe them off her phone because people are going to look at it when you die and think of like, what is she, a pedophile or something? Like what's the deal with it? And so, so if she wipes all of those photos off her phone locally, when it's synchronized with the cloud, it'll wipe it off.
Right. So if you didn't want to lose those pictures, say, she could transfer them to her own hard drive and then delete them, and then she could always access them by plugging in the hard drive again. Yeah?
Yeah. And so like I use OneDrive. And with OneDrive, because it's Microsoft, it's all built into the freaking Windows ecosystem. You can say in your storage settings, in your Windows settings, listen, unless I'm actively using this file, have it be online only until I need it. And so you'll have everything on your computer. Like, so my EQSLs, right? Like I download all my EQSLs. I've got I don't know, almost 3,000 of them. But they don't stay on my computer. They stay in OneDrive. And then as my computer says, hey, I need this one, this one, this one, this one, it downloads them, shows them on my screensaver. And then the next day it goes, all right, was this file used? If it was, then it keeps it. If it wasn't, it makes it cloud only.
Yep.
So and all your thumbnails, the easy way to get rid of your thumbnails is you go into your search bar and you type disk cleanup and you hit the advanced settings and it'll say, you can delete old Windows installations, you can delete all your thumbnails, all that shit without removing the files.
Right.
I learned.
Interesting. Yeah.
You see, we can do a Windows episode just solely on what Paul's already picked up in the past week.
He's like an expert. I'm going to have to start calling him now.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Paul. Thank you.
Guy.
So let's pull this back around here. So a little bit. So it sounds like obviously, let's kind of help a few folks out there. So you got some PC out there that you've been using in your shack, and you find it's been a little sloggy and low, drags, and it's not really kind of doing it. Oh, without making that full initial step, what 3 things would you say to throw at them that they should attempt to do to be able to maybe get their Shack PC a little like kind of left, some, life left in it before they really have to like talk about or think about what we've been discussing already? Any tips there?
So the big things for me that that kept old computers going: increase the RAM to the max capacity that your computer can hold, and get external storage. Even if it's just a USB storage device, use some external storage to supplement, so you're not keeping everything on your hard drive.
So if you have a laptop, right, they don't always come with crazy amounts of storage. So you would say get an external hard drive that you could plug into a USB port to use as your external. So if you were doing your video editing and you had a terabyte worth of video, you could have that on the external, but still use your laptop.
Exactly.
I would do probably one more. It would be that if you haven't, say, an older machine that's like, say, 8 years old or somewhere in that ballpark, you probably have a mechanical hard drive in there. And my strong suggestion is spend the extra money and buy yourself a SSD drive that you can afford. So and most SSD drives are 500 or terabyte these days that you can buy for less than $100 on Amazon, or even less than that. I think 50 is the cheapest one I think I've seen.
And they're no moving parts. So
yeah, that's exactly it. Your computer's gonna see a shot in the arm for faster read writes to it by not having to like deal with the old mechanical hard drive that we if you grew up in the 80s, you'd remember going into like large computer rooms and you hear this whoosh, and that was not the fans. Those are the hard drives making the noise as the little heads kept going back and forth trying to read as fast as they could. So you get rid of the.
I took one apart and it was like, it looked like a CD-ROM disc with like a laser.
Multiple platters and multiple fingers that all read the platters. Yeah. There's a shit ton of stuff out there.
You'll be disgusted then, Eric, because the 10 terabyte is a mechanical.
Well, and so here's the thing. So when you get above 5 gigabytes in disks, hard disk, mechanical disks, you are going to get better performance because those drives are designed for faster read writes, and they also have cache built in them. So that's a big thing. So if you find drives, there are only a few out there that make that. But if you find external hard drives and you want to put them in external cases and you want to get performance out of it, look to make sure that they have a built-in cache on the inside because it will help you in getting faster read writes on the data. Don't buy a cheap ass digital, Western Digital, like in a box that has a pretty purple case or whatever, because that will not have the speed that you need out of an external hard drive. So, okay. So yeah, it sounds like those are kind of the 3 key. Plus, I would say we also touched on it earlier was if your computer, and most computers in the past 10 years can support at least 2 monitors and maybe 3 in some cases. If it's a laptop, sometimes you can squeeze 2 external monitors on it. You might see a little lagginess if you're gaming and stuff like that, but for everyday use and logging and stuff, you could probably put some 27-inch cheap, VGA with HDMI outputs on it and get 3 monitors on it and be pretty happy with getting some more life. Maybe 1 or 2 years, if not 3, out of a decent, older laptop, as long as you kind of apply those 3 things, and it might help your Ham Shack experience for sure, because a lot of our Ham Shack apps are more dependent on the radio per se than they are, the performance of the machine, because they're just, running text left and right. So,
so I just looked up on Amazon. I don't know how good this brand is, but a 10 terabyte external hard drive, $159.99.
Yeah, crazy.
That's shit. I remember like 256 megabytes was like twice that. That's crazy.
I brought I had a whole what's the Milwaukee cases with all little compartments inside, full of like mechanical 256 gig hard drives from computers I replaced for clients and stuff like that. I brought them to the barn on Saturday. I plopped them down. I'm like thinking they're never going to take any of them. The whole entire thing was cleared out in literally by the time I left there. And people were like, oh, they were commenting, these are great. I'm using them in my Linux machine, or I'm doing this. I'm like, that's exactly what I would hope you would use them for. And because they were all, the new SATA type connections. So they were all going to work with computers that were, 15 years or less. So It's definitely worth it if you can get some good, hard drives in there to long stretch out your prolonged plans of data.
Now, let me ask you this: if you have a hard drive with your data, do you have to have it will it work with Linux PC and Apple, or do you have to have a different hard drive for each computer? Because you used to have special ones for Macs and special ones for PCs.
Those days are long gone. I mean, well, so let me throw the caveat asterisk in there. If you're looking for external drives or drives to replace the internal device in your Mac, probably not going to happen. The Macs are pretty much well sealed up. But if you want an external hard drive, anything will work. You can get whatever, as long as it's USB.
So if I'm
hold on.
Well, hold on. I got a well. This is a good question because let's say this is going to help me with my Mac thing. If I'm editing videos on my Apple MacBook
Pro, whatever. Yep.
Right at work, right when I'm supposed to be working,
that's where you're supposed to do work, right?
Mm-hmm. And then I come home and I plug in that external drive, or I have it on an external, and I plug it into my PC. Is it going to be? Can I pull up that file, or is it going to be
as long as you format it properly? Yes. Most drives out of the box are formatted for Windows, but if you format it so a Mac can read a Windows partition, because that's the way you'll have to do it. And there are plenty of resources out there on YouTube to figure out how to do this. So don't, write us in asking those steps. Just Google it.
Don't call Eric. Is that what you're saying?
Because it's the easiest thing. As long as you have a Windows machine, you want to see it on the Windows. Windows has to know what the drive is. It can't read a Mac partition because it's Linux. Although it's getting better, Windows 11 will. If you're running Windows 11, you won't have too much of a problem. But if you're on Windows 10 or Windows 7, format it in Windows, then apply it, and Mac will see it, and you'll be able to share it between the two drives.
Yeah. So this $159 one says it's what's HDD? What does that
hard
mean?
drive.
It's Western Digital.
Well, it just says Union Sign, but whatever. Compatible for PC, Mac, TV, desktop, laptop, black, and HD 3510. Which
for the price, I guarantee what you're looking at though is something off-branded from Western Digital.
Yeah, well, Western Digital is kind of the standard when it comes to good drives, so you have to be careful with what you get out there. So the HDD, Todd, is just hard disk drive, just abbreviated.
But is that the mechanical one, or is it
hard? Well, that's hard to tell, especially if you get one in a nice, pretty external case. Like they'll tell you the manufacturer or but until you open it up, you wouldn't know until you looked inside. Or here's a little tip: if you ever get a drive in an external case and you're trying to figure out whether it's SSD or mechanical, plug it in, fire it up, and then hold it in your hand. And just as a gyro, you'll feel the disc move, and you'll feel like a little bit of a force on it, and that's a guarantee that you have a mechanical drive. So SSDs won't do that.
So this thing is for the 18 terabyte. How much do you have? That's only $269.
Yeah, $269. It might not be. It might be mechanical. Like Paul said, it's like he got his, 10 terabyte for, good
right.
money.
And then as I look,
it's not a bad thing.
It seems like the smaller ones, like the real portable ones you can throw in your pocket.
Those are all SSD.
Yeah, but they cost more. They're
memory chips and all that
stuff. Like the SanDisk Extreme Portable SSD Gen 2 water dust proof is $151 only for 2 terabytes.
That's not bad.
No, I know.
Right, well, let's bring this conversation back on track here.
Sorry.
No problem there. So if you're interested and you want to know more, we got our Discord. Head over there. We'll go over to the show's channel. We'll chit chat about that there. Be glad to help you out if you got questions, and we've got a great community, so folks will be able to chime in. So let's kind of talk a little, about the secret sauce. We alluded to what one thing secret sauce wise when you're building your machine that you were like, it was super critical when you built it that you had, unless you've already alluded to it, that you wanted to share that when you were like, hey, I got this and I'm glad I did it, versus like I was teetering as to whether or not I was going to decide I was going to get it.
Processing power.
Yeah. Okay. So you went into a larger CPU or faster CPU, but the motherboard supported.
Yeah. So the motherboard had an i5 chip in it. It was a i5 2.8 gigahertz, and it wasn't bad. Don't get me wrong. it wasn't bad, but night and day from the i5 2.8 to the i7 3.5.
Sure.
You know, like so last night I had YouTube running on one monitor. I was watching something. I had DaVinci going where I was editing a video, and I was also transferring data from the Apple Macintosh hard drive that is now residing in my computer. That's got the data from the old computer on it. So I was transferring that to network storage, and dude, I was monitoring the CPU, and the highest it got was like 25%. It's amazing. Everything was running. Everything. There was no issues. The only gripe that I've got is the NVIDIA software is fighting with my actual multiple monitors, so it keeps removing my my taskbars. but otherwise, like no, like processing power and memory, like that's
Which
without
sidebar on that? Which driver are you running? You running the gaming driver or the enhanced whatever it is? For the
studio
NVIDIA?
whatever.
Yeah, don't do the studio one. Do the gaming one. That's what I did. I found the same way that was fighting me on the studio all the time, even though the studio was supposed to be for people who wanted to do streaming and those type of video editing apps. The GPU for the gaming side worked flawlessly every time, and so I just once I did that, I was like, oh, this is perfect. I don't have any glitches. I wasn't having any issues, But yeah, just a little tip. So how about you, Todd? Any kind of those like one thing that you said you were glad to you got in your configuration?
Yeah, I wanted as much RAM as I could get. So
and you maxed it out, didn't you? Went to like
as much as I could get, and I just put those things in and said, "How big can I get?" And he goes, "This." I'm like, "All right, how many slots?" Yeah, you got like whatever it was, 2 slots. All right, I want 2 of those. But because I know that the RAM is like I can do multiple things. I didn't want any lag and like the first time I booted up and I was like shocked on how fast, like now I go to my work computer and I'm like, this thing sucks. It's so freaking slow. I got to wait for things that are like this thing, instant. I could be doing this and pop up my email and it like instantly. So I was a big I'm like, I want it to just happen when I want it to happen. So that was my biggest thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think I learned the hard way too. I started with like 64 and I was like, yeah, I'm okay with it. Now I ended up getting the AMD side of the house. So I felt that, I wanted to, based on some feedback and whatnot from the PC shop that Todd got his, that's where I got mine. They were like, oh no, AMD is probably the better way to go. And, they kind of, I was telling them what I was looking for, applications. That's, one thing that we haven't touched about and we could go on for hours. But if you have questions on why I went that route, I'll happy to share on Discord or whatever. But yeah, I went and finally just said, screw it, and bought the max memory. The one thing that Paul did that was really good that I recommend, if you got a machine where, the max memory is 32 and you can max out the processor, do that because the channels and the chips that are built onto those motherboards are optimized for those faster lanes on maxed out memory and in the processor. So by doing both versus one versus the other, you're going to see a performance hit, especially on like, faster processing with video editing and watching videos and streaming and that stuff versus if you left the processor at a lower speed and, threw more memory at it. So always kind of a good tip there and good way to go if you can definitely afford to be able to do that on your own motherboard. But that's the other drawback is like if you bought like a mainstream Dell or a mainstream HP or whatever, you probably aren't going to be able to do a lot of the stuff that we've talking about here tonight because a lot of those are proprietary platforms and you're not going to be able to make the chip swaps. So, start at your local PC shop if you have one. Talk to a bunch of maybe nerds in your local town or in your ham club that might, build PCs.
Or your friend or your family or someone.
Yeah,
typically the young kids know how to do this.
They know what they're doing. Yeah, they'll help you build that machine and you'll be much happier with it.
The gamers, those guys know exactly what they want. Right?
They do, including the lights. So we didn't talk about it so much. We were focused more on desktops, but just on a little touch base. We obviously do some portable stuff. We're big POTA guys, so I know, Todd, you had mentioned how you use iPads and whatnot for logging and stuff. Do you have any digital setup at all you do for,
Not
laptops?
not. I don't have a laptop, so
That's not true. You got that Jenkopotamus. You bought the Jenkopotamus.
yeah, it's still in the box.
Still the. All right. Well, you heard it here.
Yeah, it's brand new.
You?
It's all loaded up. Yeah, I should probably take that out and play around with that.
Probably a good idea. Yeah. You did
But
buy
yeah,
it
I just like I said, when I get out in the field, I just like to do sideband and talk to people. Doing FT8 and setting everything up and just sitting there and staring at it. Me is like, what's the point? I could do that at home.
So we know our Grouch here started in that realm and said he would never cross over to sideband whatsoever. But what do you have? What's your kind of configuration for your portable stuff, and do you like it, or something you want to change in the future?
So no, so portable with computers. The issue for me was always charging in the field. Um, the laptop that I had, I want to say I think the charger was like 19 and a half volts. Then you were nice enough to give me an older laptop that was great. It ran all the ham software for what I needed. But again, charging in the field was an issue. In talking with some guys that are still in the military, and they were like, "Hey, why don't you look into Toughbooks?" And I was like, "Oh, all right." So that rabbit hole on eBay, and I was like, "Well, I can't justify the expense for a Toughbook, just to have a computer for when I randomly feel like doing some digital out in the field, right?" But it happened to be at Nearfest. Guy had Toughbooks. I got one for $25. I had a hard drive to put in it, so I was able to do that. And then I bought the cord to charge it, running off of 12 volts.
Nice.
None of the other laptops that that I had that option, so that was really nice. So now, not only does the laptop, the battery lasts for about 4 hours of constant digital use, and I can plug it into my little rig blaster kind of distribution block, and then I'm good. I can charge the laptop on the go.
Cool. Okay. Well, I'm not as, we'll say, tuned into that realm. I definitely just started to kind of get back into my digital world, portable. I have a Surface laptop that I have had for a while, and it's as portable as I possibly can make it, but it has its own charging, not running on 12 volts, the whole shebang. So I have to put a little bit of forethought into if I'm going to play FT8 versus if, hey, if I am on a whim, I just grab it and go. So thankfully, I usually leave it charged up pretty well, so I don't ever have to worry about it. But I think I've done FT8 digital modes twice, in my entire POTA. So it doesn't say a whole lot there in terms of longevity. But it's a Surface laptop, so the battery I probably get a good 6 hours if I'm not taxing it hard, and FT8 doesn't do too bad with it. And so outside of that, if I make 10 or 15 contacts off of it and then I move on, it serves a purpose. But like Todd said, I do a lot of my logging either my smartphone or tablet or whatever, so it kind of fits that purpose there. But I would love to, and I bought the Jenkopotamus when Todd bought his, but I looked at it and I went, yeah, I think I'm gonna hold off, and I gave it to Tim, our buddy, KC1QDK, and so he's been using it, and that had 12 volts as an option there. So I kind of was like, okay, well then maybe have to hold off, pursuing the 12 volt route, but it would be nice. So yeah, it looks like you came back there. You were a little frozen.
Yeah.
We were wondering what that was, so I was dragging it on. Anyway, all right, well, let's kind of wrap this up a little bit. So I think tonight's discussion was good. We could definitely get down some really crazy rabbit holes. But I thought it was kind of fitting since Paul was just wrapping up his PC build out there, and it was definitely fresh in his mind. And I know Todd had already gone through that a little bit on past setups.
Well, one thing just to say that if you're totally anti-computer, and you're new and you want to get into ham radio, you don't necessarily need a computer. It just makes things a lot more easier. So you can still do ham radio without a computer, without a screen, and so you can go down to HRO and get a brand new Yaesu DX10. Don't get that. What's that other company that the other brand? Icon. Yeah, whatever. Don't get that. Get the DX10, or and you plug it in, you set it up, and you're going to be on the air, and you'll be good to go. But having a computer and having what you need to do for it does make things easier. And like Eric, I can't stand writing, and it's much easier to do a digital log, so you can do it. But if you're going to get into FT8 and some of those digital modes, you're going to need a computer. So, cool. But if you're not into computers, still do ham radio. It's not a necessity. It's just a modern convenience, and it does expand your reach, I think, a little bit.
Well, and I know a current president in our club who was doing POTA with paper logs for a long time.
I know. He saw me, goes, I got a paper log, and I'm like, what? I'm like, are you kidding me?
It's okay. It's a circle of trust here. You'll eventually want to do computers because you do so much POTA, you're tired of writing.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but like you're handwriting your log only to then type it in
later, right? So, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Because you're forced to submit it.
Yeah, he's retired. He's got all the time in the world, right?
True that. Any last bit of advice or anything you want to add to that, Paul?
I guess just use what you got, right? A lot of times you can make what you have work. Once you reach the point where what you have is no longer working, well, then reach out to some friends and see, maybe there's somebody out there that can help you out. Because, if I had to buy a new computer right now, I couldn't do it. And so then I would literally be like at a standstill because there is so much on my desk that is tied to the computer, from logging and radio software to everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Use what you can, and don't be afraid to try it on your own. Like I said, if a dummy like me could do it, you could do it too.
Words of advice to live by, my friends. Very good. So, all right, guys. Well, with that, we appreciate you. Thank you again for joining the Live Free and Ham podcast community. And, we truly appreciate everybody who supports the show. And I can't thank you enough. These guys can't thank you enough. Definitely come be part of our Discord. Just be part of the community. We'd love to have you. And we want to, continue to build this because we love doing ham radio. And we love talking about it. And we love, meeting other folks who are like-minded in some sense or another. So, if you want to connect with us, you can always head over to our Discord server, join in the conversation, and the link is always in all of our show notes and on our website down at the footer. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, catch all of the awesome content over there, and we'll be definitely pouring more into that the years ahead. And so leave us a review, as we've been saying throughout this whole entire episode, and we will continue to say it, and it'll be posted everywhere. You can use our SMS link on all of our show notes, or you can leave us a voicemail at, what's the number again, Paul?
Oh, that number is 978-233-1142.
There you go. Leave us a voicemail. We want to hear from you. And you can always support the show by joining our Patreon, or if you're into buying us a beer, we all love beer and wine and whiskey. Feel free, or wine and whiskey, just whiskey. Screw the wine.
Scotch.
Scotch. There you go. Yeah, so you can definitely buy us a one-time Scotch, whiskey, or beer. And finally, you can always head over to livefreeandham.com to learn about the show, check out our latest swag, and find out all of our contact info for all the hosts over there. And as always, thanks again for listening, and from all of us at Live Free and Ham, 7-3.
7-3.